Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers. We are continuing on with the Survival Series 2. The other thing we're continuing on with is the building of a now different space station. We spent a lot of time building on the other space station, including all the different blocks to put together, and we ended up discovering an awful lot of lag. So rather than a space station, we really just created a lag monster. So the idea was we would rebuild the station, or rather build a different station which hopefully, if all went well, would not be the same lag monster as the other was. And I think we have accomplished that. So there's a few things missing. One of the things we wanted to do was add in the hangar bay, which we did create for the other one. Then there's one more tunnel, and then the observation deck, which is basically the termination of the tunnel. So, what to say? What to say? So, a couple things missing here. This scaffold area here contains the nanobot build and repair system. One of the things about a hangar bay, convenient to have this methodology within it. So what I want to do is actually rework the hangar bay a little bit to include build and repair system. And the build and repair system embedded in the ceiling, in this case the overhead, will be able to enable the repair and building of various spacecraft, as well as refurbishing the fighter craft that would be presumably in the top, which is what we built that particular thing for. So the idea here is this series, the two aspects were to start out, and we actually started out up here. So we built the base, which we called the origin planet, and we built the base there, which was a ground-based planet. The idea there is we would harvest enough materials that we could build interstellar capable, or at least space capable vehicle, launch it, and off we go. Then we get out to this much larger space station, or reasonably large space station, and the goal behind the space station was to provide kind of a central location for really our industrial engine. So we would be able to harvest materials. We would be able to bring those materials back and process them, and then use those materials in the building of other things, such as larger scale spacecraft, whatever. So we camped out here in the middle. Now, why did I choose this particular location? The location, of course, is a long ways from where we started from. 950 kilometers. Now, 950 kilometers isn't that far, certainly. But in the world of space engineers, that's actually quite a distance. So 950 kilometers here. Why did I pick that? You can see over here we have our transit station, which is the antenna there, the transit station. And then we have this marker, which was the station location. So this was my ideal. I want to call this a calculated location, but it actually wasn't. I didn't actually do any really hardcore numbers here. But this was my projected station location, and we're a little off, but it works. Why did I pick that? Because it's almost dead center. That's a little bit of a triangular here, but almost dead center between the original planet, a very Earth-like planet, and the desert planet, the Mars-like planet. You can see both the moons here, so the moon of the planet there. Actually, maybe that's not the moon. Maybe that's actually the alien planet. Oh, no, there's the alien planet. Sorry, that is the moon of the Mars-like planet. And then I think we can see the moon of the Earth-like planet there as well. Could be an asteroid, but kind of looks like the moon. So that was the idea, that we have something that's approximately equidistant from the Mars, and I've really never had a good time on any of the alien planets because, damn, spiders. So that's why we ended up here. So let me get oriented again. So the station is mostly complete, as you see here. I pasted these into the world, but have not attached them, and the reason I didn't attach them is because the BRS system really is missing from here. Now, even though I have the BRS system built in elsewhere, I really did want to build it in here. Now, how can I really facilitate doing this efficiently? Now, I can either put the build and repair system down below these, which that would work, or change things a little bit and reorient everything. So there's not really any easy way necessarily to do this, so I'm going to go ahead and modify. Well, let's just do it. Don't need to talk about it. I'm going to move these down and put them in underneath. So number 4, 5 in this case is my elbow. I'm going to chop into things right here, which we'll put in, and then we'll delete this going across and do the same thing on this end. We'll go ahead and leave those off for right now because that will just help me in change our color. We'll continue on with the blue on this side. Rotate once again. Nope, that was in the right way. Oops. Screaming cross. Do the delete right up to the end, and then we reverse once again. Alright, so the idea here is going to be a little more challenging because we have these pieces up top. So what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and change most of these out with crosses, and then we'll come back in. So here's our cross. We need to change colors, so we will do that, and then paste these in. Now, I suppose if I were to just be efficient here, I'd just go ahead and delete these and then repaste, which would be probably a little easier. So we have our cross. I'm going to go ahead, and this is going to seem a little bit silly, but we're going to go ahead and paste the crosses like this, and then I'm going to delete because it's faster. Actually, we'll leave, okay, that one's there. And then again, delete because it's faster. And then the challenge is realizing where these things really are. So this is a 5-way, and I just have to orient it the right way, which should be this, and realize where these pieces actually are. So these ended up every third one, looks like. Alright, so the idea here is to put in the build and repair systems. Now, do we need this many? Probably not. Now, like any system, there are a certain number of CPU cycles that are consumed by way of really anything. So something that you put into the world that performs a certain function does take a certain amount of CPU cycles to make it work. It's just the nature of the thing. An air vent has to be, there are calculations that have to happen in the background that basically determine how this thing functions relative to the game environment. The build and repair system is no different. So the more of them you have, the more CPU cycles it takes for each one of those So this putting crosses in is probably not a good idea. So we're going to go ahead and alter this once again to not have all of these. So I just did something and removed it, which, oops, because I got to thinking about that, and if the whole idea was to eliminate the lag monster, then why am I going to create one? So, oops. So we'll be a little more intelligent here in our building, and go ahead and put this in. So, same thing once again is we put in this thing to make it easy using the planer, and then I'm just going to delete this bottom row. Alright, from there we actually build the build and repair system modules. I have to find them. They are in here somewhere. Here they are. So let me see. We're done with the shield generators and the assemblers. We're done with elevators. We're done with programmable blocks. I think we're done with sorters. I think we're also done with the firewalls. I don't know if the firewalls are actually going to do any form of protection for us. And then our cargo teleporter. Now the one thing we have not installed, we haven't figured out where to put that, is the teleporter, and I don't even know if it will work because I don't know how many kilometers is the limit. Haven't played with that, and in fact I didn't read it on the description page, so there may be something there, there may not be, I don't know. So that will be something to work with to see what we have. But for now, we are selecting the build and repair module. We'll get it inserted here in the... I think we're going to put it in this way, just because. So, let me see. Now, what I don't know is if there is a lateral. There may not be. So, I'm going to proceed on faith that this will actually put these in the correct fashion. I hope. Which will save me having to paste them on both sides. One of the advantages of creative building. Alright, now what to do with the free space? We have reactors here. So if you remember from the original build, we had the vanilla reactors. Once I changed over to this is never going to be published kind of a philosophy, even though I really kind of like this station better, I changed these guys out with Kenti reactors. So these, even though they're in the hangar bay here, are actually, just because of their sheer size, are now the main reactors of the entire station. So kind of strange to have your main reactors over here, but it's really the equation of power production. There were 4 of them, so I swapped them out one for one, which means I have a boatload of power available from right here. So these actually are going to feed the entire station comfortably. So one of the other things that may or may not be very intelligent, batteries. I love batteries. So batteries in this case, I have to have batteries. So I'm going to go ahead and paste batteries in here because otherwise that's a wasted space, which I don't really favor. So we're just going to paste a bunch of batteries in because. It fills the space nicely, and they're actually useful. In a StarCraft of some kind, this would actually be a large waste because um, they're heavy. So it becomes an issue of weight, which means I now have increased mass that I need to move through the stars. So building a bunch of batteries on a mobile object can become a factor of concern. In the case of a station which obviously has mass, but because it's not in motion, the mass becomes irrelevant. Space, because it's not. For those of you who are astrophysicists, can attest to the fact that just because gravity is very, very low does not mean there are not gravitational forces. In the game, obviously, because we're not actually applying reality in really most any aspect, we're not subject to gravity for the most part. We have to be within a gravity well for the effects and forces of gravity to actually play a role within the construct of the game. That having been said, I'm being very generous with my batteries, even though they represent a certain amount of weight, because the station is immobile. So I don't have to worry about structural aspects, structural engineering concepts, or anything like that, because, hey, we're in 0G. Even though, technically we're not. Alright, so let me go back to selecting the colors here. I'm going to put batteries down the center row, but before I do that, I am going to finish, which is really to say, reinstall these pieces. So once again, just to make things easy, we're going to kind of do the planar approach here, so we can drag all the way across and then reconnect back in. And we'll correct the color oops. Oh, this is a 5, which is why that didn't work. To connect that back in. Now we will go ahead and delete this lower piece, like so. Then we will turn off the mirroring, change colors so we can actually get the correct color over here, and then do the color. Alright, and as we said, I'm going to go ahead and paste batteries in here because otherwise this is kind of a useless space. So I really like having my spaces consumed in a useful way. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Get my batteries pasted in here, and then... Alright. So these batteries will indeed take a little while to charge. In the meantime, we're going to find a control panel of some kind. We can use most anything. And so we have the build and repair system. And inconveniently, I cannot for the life of me remember what I called it over here. We can go to any control panel. So BRS array, because that is not okay, my thoughts are, do I need 2 separate groups for this? And you know what, I am. I'm gonna leave these guys here because conceivably maybe I'll want to turn one off and leave the other one on. So we'll consider these separate. So changing everything to match will not do that. So, build and repair system, one of the interesting things is that because this is a completely different grid, at least at the start, then we're going to have some similar numbers. And we didn't end up with as many as I thought we would. So this is the BRS array to be consistent with the other one, but this is Hangar. Save. So let's turn off the hidden feature, so unhide everything. We'll do the transfer because that's all those batteries that we just put in, as well as the BRS system. Now we still have to configure the BRS system, but that's fine. We'll get to that. And then we have all the batteries here, which will be the vast majority. Yep. I'm not going to rename them. Yes, I suffer from certain symptoms of OCD, but I'm not nearly patient enough to solve that particular problem of renaming every single freaking battery on this particular grid. Not gonna happen. So, save. Toolbar off, and show block and terminal off. So, now we have the build and repair system, and we can, in fact, do a toolbar config off and turn it off in the terminal. So we're down to just groups, not a thing showing otherwise, but we're going to go ahead and do this. Click on the group so we can configure. So help others, yes. So everybody in my faction will be able to work here. These have to work in fly mode because otherwise it is only those things attached on the grid. So we can see here walk mode. Oh, it doesn't show. Never mind. Walk mode is everything directly attached to the grid on which the build and repair system is attached. So basically it's only what's attached to this same grid. Fly mode is I can go anywhere within the radius. Okay, and in this case the radius happens to be 75 meters. So quite a bit, but still a little bit limited. So weld before grind. You've got three options here. Weld before grind means I'm going to weld first. That's pretty straightforward. Grind before weld, also straightforward. Grind if weld gets stuck. Now what do we mean by weld gets stuck? Well, obviously if I'm welding and I run out of parts, I'm stuck. So that's really what that means. So if I don't have the parts I need to complete the welding job that I'm doing, then hey, well, we'll sneak in some grinding here. So I want to do that. Most flexibility. Use ignore color. Absolutely. Now, I don't use this, but I'm using a convention. Why did I pick color 113? Because it is missing the 3 on 313. That's why I picked that one. It's also being used similarly by a few other YouTubers. Okay, I know this number because I've put it in here so many times. 313.2 because that's the closest thing you can get to on the color picker within the game. So like they're known for, the developers don't always use the same methodology. To me, every single slide bar in this game should function in the same way. So let me go ahead and go OK, and I'll show you what I mean. This slide bar, on some of the slide bars, such as this one, you can do set to value. So control, left click, brings up this, and you can put in any value you want within the range. In this case, so let me run these sliders up and I'll actually demonstrate what I mean. So control, left click, brings up a slider bar, right? Control, left click, brings up the slider bar. Control, left click, brings up the slider bar. But missing in other places. Hold that thought. Let's continue here. Enemy blocks, absolutely not own blocks. This can get you into a little bit of trouble, but it works out pretty well. Neutral blocks, I always leave this off. Why is that? Because when you first build something, if you're running in any form of creative mode, or if you have pasted in something from the outside, it is not yet owned. You take ownership, everything is fine. Otherwise, it's a neutral block. If you have this on, it will instantly start grinding down that blueprint that you just spent all the time and effort to paste in. Oops, not what you wanted. So I always leave that one off. You can actually set build and repair priority, grind priorities. You can do all this good stuff. This pickup here is always a good thing. If you don't want stone and gravel, then obviously you leave those sorts of things off. Collect only if idle, if you want to do this. Push ore immediately. I don't know what the difference between items and components is. I'm thinking this means hand tools. Oh, hand tools, weapons, ammos, bottles, it says exactly what that is. So everything that's not components or ore, apparently. Ingots and ore, pick up immediately. So the idea is that these guys have actually a pretty substantial internal storage. Okay, so they work pretty well, but they do eventually fill up. And when they fill up and you have one of these or all of these not checked, it stops working, which is unfortunate. So push it. That way it pushes it backwards into the closest container that it has access to, and off it goes. Now, if you have an inventory management system and it actually interfaces with these guys, then you're okay. Show area is obviously a HUD function, so you can actually see where it goes. But we have 75 meters in all direction, which in fact is the limit of these particular little monsters. Okay, I always set this to 15. 50% is you have that grinding sound and the welding sound in your ears, which is a little bit obnoxious. So I've turned that all down. The other thing about the build and repair system, which is actually a good feature, is you'll notice the blocks are off. Okay, so when you first start out, the blocks are going to be off. So if you're sitting there wondering, okay, I just spent all this effort to configure these, why the hell are they not working? Well, that's probably because you forgot to turn them on. Oops. So they default as off when you really want to use them, and we turn them on. Alright, so I was going off on my rant of this right here. So we have two slide bars and the actual color slide bar. Control left click goes to some random color. Wherever you happen to click, it is there. In this case, I will never ever get this back to where I wanted. So what we will do is select a block. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm selected onto my tiger orange slot, and to fix this we're going to do a shift P, which is a color selector, I think. And let's look. Yes, so 15, 100, 100 is my tiger orange. So the point here is you cannot control left click and get to the window that pops up. Now, why other sliders in the game allow you to do that? Obviously, when I was demonstrating on the build and repair system, the build and repair system is a mod. Okay, so obviously you can turn those functionalities on or off. But why, if they are in certain vanilla game functions, are they not in all of them? This one is absolutely critical, in my opinion, that your saturation and value, whatever value actually means, I can see why those aren't as important. The variations on saturation and mystical magical value may or may not play a critical role. Can the human eye actually detect what those shade coloration differentials really are? And the answer is probably no. But my contention here is that if you add in the control left click and then you can input any value you want, then you should be consistent in that. In the case of things that you want to be consistent with your colors, like I do, I have my tiger orange, and I want to be able to carry my tiger orange anywhere I want to go. I cannot, and this is, if I use my mouse I cannot actually select 15.0 as the hue. I can't do it. Whether that's a function of mouse sensitivity or mouse unsensitivity, however you want to look at that, I can't do that. If I could do a control left click and enter 15, enter, I'd be done. Okay, so the fact that I can't do something that I want to do, that ultimately the only way I can do this is to bring in a blueprint that has that particular color and then do a shift P to mimic that color, that's a little frustrating. I mean, you've built this thing into the game, why don't you do it everywhere? So be consistent. That's what I'm, the take back to the devs here are, you guys built in a wonderful feature, which was this control left click. Do it everywhere for us. Please, please, please. It would make a lot of people very, very happy. Okay, done with RAM. Alright, so we have batteries, we have the build and repair system that is now up and operational in here, and it looks like our hangar bay is done. So what I'm going to do here is actually do the cut and paste, which is really the cut or copy. So there's the copy, escape to eliminate that, F10 to bring in everything, and whoops, I eliminated that, I guess. So it's a control B instead, which puts this station hangar back into the universe. And then we're going to shift off screen for just half a second, because what I want to do is copy that. I have a folder that's ironically enough called Station Parts. And because I build everything in a modular fashion, very intentionally so, then we're going to Control X that, which is basically a cut, and then we will paste it into the Station Parts folder, which will replace our other one, which did not have the build and repair system. So, that's my nags here. Okay, the other thing that we want to do is what logical location, and I'm thinking the hangar bay, kind of my centralized area here. Now the other thing that maybe is a concern is that there's actually no access between the top and the bottom here, which I didn't consider originally. Maybe we should remedy that. And how do we best effectively do that? So we have a boatload of batteries up here, which may or may not be an issue. So what I think I will do, given the fact that we have do I do that on both sides? Nope. So we have a bunch of batteries here, so I'm going to steal a battery slot. And what we're going to do is go back over to, and this is not sure why that does that, G. We're going to bring our elevator systems back into the toolbar. So we're going to create an elevator to go back and forth through here. Logically, I probably would do just as well to put in a door. Just, you know, open the door, go through. We're using the same pressurization system, so theoretically these are two different spaces, but, you know, oh well. But because we have the elevator, we're going to go ahead and use it. So I'm going to put the elevator there. Yes, I know, I just created a hole there. And we're going to do the same thing over here. So that really is just to mark so I can see where this happens to be. Now, okay, that's going to be a problem because this goes up over here. Oops. So, I'm not going to be able to do that as intended, because that goes through there. Darn it. Alright, well, change of plans. Change of plans. Those happen sometimes. Okay. Here's where I'm gonna kind of cheat, and I do apologize for that. How do you revert something when you don't have the almighty Control Z, the undo function, which I've complained about before, Control X. So we're gonna get rid of that, and the reason we got rid of that is because, no energy. Sorry, off screen. I did a cut on that one. So, Control C, paste it back into my blueprints directory. Paste. And do a refresh over here, which will bring back the newly revised station hangar. And there we go. Not sure why that's not pasting in exactly as I wanted it. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this to reorient here. And okay, it did paste it back in. I was wondering what was going on with the force field doors because they weren't showing up there in the model. Okay, so what was the rationale behind this? Well, I just created this this new hangar bay, which is really to say I just added the BRS system in, the build and repair system, and I deleted a couple batteries up here because I was going to put I was going to put a methodology here to get from the upper bay to the lower bay, and that was an oops. Now, what can we do? Can we build a staircase down, or do we rely on just going through the floor? And it's really kind of a personal preference as to what anybody wants to do. What I'm going to do is go underneath, because I actually have a lot of equipment here. As you know, the reactors are here, so I don't know exactly where would be an ideal place to go through. And as it turns out, it would actually be out here. So what we'll do is create, I think I'm just going to put a single door, 1, 8. That's black. We'll change to tiger orange. And I'm going to go ahead and turn around this way, and we'll put this here, and you know what, I'm going to go ahead and put a full, we'll put a full airlock in, and we'll do that in both ends. Originally, this was actually a function of being a little bit lazy, so I was going to not do that, but let's go ahead. Oh, and okay, I screwed up. For those of you who are OCD know exactly what I did. There we go. I had the windows facing the wrong way. We absolutely cannot have that. So the next question is this the A side or the B side? The changing of an awful lot of stuff actually eliminated what the A side and the B side actually was. So what we're going to do is just pick something that I know. So this is the A side. So we'll use that to our advantage. So this is the sliding door, hangar. Sorry, let me get my tax in here. Hangar. This is. Not sure what we want to call this. Inner hangar airlock. IHAL. Nobody's going to know what that means, but that's okay. And this is the A side. And whether we call this an inner door or outer door, I don't think it really matters. So we're going to be arbitrary and call this one the inner door, and then we'll call this other one, provided I can actually get to it, as the outer door. Select, there we go, okay. And this is going to be named the same thing, hangar, inner hangar airlock. This is the A outer door, A side outer door. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this, which is going to make this just a little easier for me to do something with. We're going to close that door and close that door. So originally it was lazy that was going to prevent me from putting in a full airlock, because I would have to go through and name everything and blah, 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 blah. So this is, of course, our B side. So conveniently we can paste this in, and this one, I think this was the lower one, which means this is actually the inner door, and we'll set that as, we can't do that yet, because I have to get to that right there, the control panel for this door, which then I can paste this in, and this is in fact the B outer. So we'll go closed, and then closed. Okay, so this is the interconnector between the two levels. What are we doing here? We're going to go ahead and highlight those. In this case, change to me, yes. Unhide everything. This is just to be sure. We are indeed me, so rehide everything. These guys are already selected. We will go up here, and doors sliding is our global group. So once I paste this in, it will merge in with the other groups that are named the exact same thing. Control left click, which will bring up the group name in here. We do a save, which will add those doors that we highlighted into that group. Even though this says off and off, they're actually on, so we'll toggle this to make sure that happens, and then off once again. There we go. Starting to see a little bit of lag here. Alright, so we're back to just having our groups, which should be pretty good. So now we have our interconnectors between the top and the bottom. The very last thing we're going to do, and you know what, I'm gonna do that after I take a copy. So Control C, which is a copy, escape, which gets rid of the copy, but we still have that on the clipboard. Station Hangar, replace with clipboard, which then basically is the effective methodology of updating my blueprint, which I'll copy out. Cancel to get that off the screen. And what I want to do here is we're going to put in the transport system. We're going to put that right over here. Now it's a 2x2, which is actually really neat, and it doesn't really matter which way you face it. It all is going to kind of look the same. So transporter pad, we're going to go ahead and paste that here. We're going to go ahead and name this as well as seize ownership of it. So you can see this is nobody because I pasted this in creative mode. Me, yes. This is called transporter pad, and this is transit station. Okay, which is why I pasted this after I did the copy. Broadcast using antennas, which is true, so we may actually end up with the limitation here of the transporter pad not being able to reach anything else, and I'm not sure why we don't have all the normal stuff here. Yeah, normally we have configuration information here, which I don't know why we don't. Okay. T, does it say? Nope. So we may just, well, there's nothing in range, therefore. or maximum detection range. We may just have a problem. So the idea was we would. Okay, one of the problems may be, in fact, because there is not an antenna in the hangar. So we may have to paste this before we can do anything with it. So let me do a Shift F5 because I haven't done that in a long time. Oops, that was stupid. And let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to paste. Pasting is always a challenge, especially when it comes to some prettying up as we have done here. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and take this piece off, which I may have to do anyway. Nope, it's already gone there. But this will make it a lot simpler in putting everything up. So we're gonna go back to that. Well, I can't use my grind color because that would do some very strange things. And we'll do one more. The reason why when I select this block, I'm actually selecting this plate. So I want to add this onto here. So I'm aiming for this block here, which is 2 blocks above. So 2 blocks above, but this is actually in the third block up, because the bounding box of this actually is above. So X and V to paste this back into the world, and yeah. And something not working correctly. Not a surprise. So, unfortunately, I have to paste that back in the world and then figure out what went wrong, which is likely, yeah. So the problem is this has a bounding box that goes around. This also has a bounding box which are conflicting with these others, so we'll eliminate these, and I forgot to do that. The reality is, if I do these as I did the other ones, then I'm going to actually put the angle blocks here, which will change how those actually look too. Alright, so now I think I have corrected. Let me get up here a little ways so I have the flexibility of view. We will once again Control X, Control V, which pastes this back into the world. And we'll see if we can actually do this a little easier. Okay, so this should be, I'm pointing at the box I want. I turned green, so we are commit. And it looks like, alright, it looks like we pasted as expected. Alright, one of the things I did on the previous station, which I'm going to go ahead and mimic here, why you would delete that block, actually I do know why, because. Alright, change colors, I will just refrain from rant. 7 and 2. We will rotate this around and then go to the catwalk plate. One of the things that I do need to do, G, I have changed the entire station over to heavy blocks. So what we want to do is maintain our heavy. Oh, that's a light. Heavy and heavy. So in this case, what I want to do is I'm going to delete, and delete. So this becomes an inverted corner. Let me change to a patented tiger orange, and we will paste that in there and change the angles, which is there. Then this becomes a regular block, and then we have a slope, which is here, and then a corner here and here. All right, so what the intention here was to kind of make this fit a little better into the world that we have. We have to add our tiger stripey, so that is that, and we actually will do the exact same thing down here. So there's the tiger stripey there. We're not done. We do have to put in the lower portion, the mirror of what we just did on top, but we are adding in the things as we build here, just to make sure we don't forget, because I will. I don't want to say I have the attention span of a squirrel, but I get going on 50 other things at once, which means I kind of have the attention span of a squirrel. All right, back to number one. In this case, it's going to be a lot easier to add everything in, change back to tiger orange, because all I am doing here is deleting the plate blocks and spinning these guys in back off one, which is a erase and paste, erase and paste, and erase and paste. So there we go, everything done there, as well as the plates, which are still in place. We've continued our tiger striping as we intended. The only differential here is that the black terminates into the orange, which I guess it depends on how you look at stripes, but they all do. Alright, so we are successfully connected into the station here, which leaves this portion left. So what I want to do is see what we have done on this side, and I think we're going to continue on in the exact same venue that we did before, which means we're going to have to get rid of this, and this, and in fact get rid of these things up here as well. I think that one's okay. Now, because I've done that, I think we're going to be okay. What I want to do is a color check to make sure my conveyor systems are lining up correctly. I'm going to do a last second name check here. So we want to make sure this is tunnel 2 in contrast to tunnel 1, which we pasted on the other side. And then finally we're going to grab this block here in the center just to give us an interesting rotational. Let's go ahead and shift F5 to quick save. Then we do a control X to delete this block, yes, and a control V to paste it back in. It pasted in what looks like a correct fashion. I want to, this is going to go right into this block here. Okay, we are aligned where it should be. Looks like my colors match as appropriate, at least I think they do, and we are green, so we're commit. Sure enough. Alright, red to red, green to green. Alright, the only thing we have to do here now is to paste in the correct pieces. So this is a block. This one, oh darn, that is a slope. I want a block. So block, if we continue on in this particular venue, there's a slope, slope, slope. This becomes an inverted corner. So we'll go ahead and rotate those around the correct way. This also is the inverted corner. And then finally the corner itself, corner and corner. We'll go ahead and do the bottom, then we'll come back and do the tiger stripey stripey. So corner and corner, back one to put the variable axis rotation. Color select, back to the black stripey. Select any block will do. Paste that color. Paste that color. Go to the other side and do the same thing again. So paint that color. C for the down. And paint the color there. And complete. Alright, so successfully attached the secondary tunnel. The one thing I want to do is investigate now that I have the antenna attached to see whether this functionality changed at all. And if it is dependent upon the antenna, it hasn't. So, okay. Yeah, this didn't change at all. So I don't know what that means. So it looks like transporter pads in this case become functionally useless. I don't know if that's a game bug that I currently have. It's entirely possible. You know, this wigs out from time to time. So the idea was, given the distance, that it would be really nice to have the ability to teleport from the station, the ground station, to this station. Just poof, and you're there. And apparently, you can't do that. So I will accept that as truth, and we will move on appropriately. All right, I'm going to put in. Let me go back to a block, and block, which is going to give me a mounting point. That's the whole purpose here. Let me go up. So we have a slope which happens to be one above where I want to be as far as my connection point. So let's go ahead and be safe. We'll do a quick save. Control X, which deletes this piece. Control V, paste it back in the world. Try that. That was not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Control X, Control V, and it appears to be rotated around the correct way. So now we just need to get it to go here. Alright, so theoretically, this is where it is supposed to be. It looks like it is aligned, so we are committed. At least I think that was aligned. Am I one block off? Nope. I am... It is looking aligned. So this is good. This is a good thing. So we will right click to delete those two pieces because they're no longer necessary, and we should have now everything connected. If all is well, we are green, green, green all the way across. Let's go ahead and look at the side. Yes, those are green as well. These should have changed to green, which they did. So it looks like we now have a completely interconnected system. These two also are green. So blue is green as well. Okay, so it looks like we now have a completely integrated and interconnected conveyor system, which is awesome. Okay, so at this point, other than any little technical things that may or may not be happening, we have completed our station. So we're going to go ahead and control B, and if all goes well, we should end up with transit station. Let's go ahead and highlight this just to see if transit station is what we think it is. Yes, the blueprint is, or rather the thumbnail for the blueprint is there. So that is the new transit station. We'll click OK because we don't really want to do anything with that. And because that is in my blueprints, we're going to go ahead and copy that out and backwards into the station. So station observation deck we can actually delete because that pasted in with no issues. The hangar we changed, and I know I'm doing this babbling about stuff that's off the screen, so I do apologize for that. So we're going to do a Control X, which will take the couple items there out of my inventory, and we're going to slide down here to my station parts folder and paste. Now, of course, the entire station is really not station parts. Yes, know that. Got it. So what we will do is then drag and drop that back to where we want it to be. Alright, so now we have a station, and one of the reasons we have this station location being where it is to give us a jump point, in fact. Because the station is so far away from the origin station in this case, then we have a few little problems, such as moving. Medical room, not sure how that ended up on the HUD, but we'll go ahead and turn that off. Truly have no idea how that happened. Okay, so as long as we have found errors here, this is a turn off hide. We did a Control A. We can see that the owner did not change, so it's entirely selected to me, which is good. We'll turn that back on. We should have very little. Oh, just the connectors, which we have not renamed. Alright, so we do have some more work here. The bad news is we have more work. The other bad news is, hey, I'm over time again. So, the good news is I'm not very far over time. In any case, this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you next time.